Okay, we're back at the end of this row. We're doing the 5 rows where we're ending in the last stitch and we're decreasing as we go down. Just 5 rows of this. This is completing the first row that you're watching right now, where we're going to be decreasing. There'll be a second type of decreasing after these 5 rows that are a little bit different. Okay, so you end even. So you go into the last hole, single crochet, chain up. This is completing the first row. We marked it on the other end. And after you go down, I'm going to show you again. We ended in that last row, and now we're going to decrease, and we're going to go into the third hole. 1, 2, 3. Grab it, go into the third hole, and go all the way across. We're starting the second row. You're going to do 5 rows like that. Also, when we do the ending, when we put the border on, this will hide that. So we'll be back at the end of these 5 rows and show you how to do the next 7 rows. Okay? Thank you. See you in a minute. Okay, we're back, and we're on the end of the 4th row of the decreasing, where we go into the last hole, and then when we flip the work, we start in the 3rd hole. But I want to show you how to end it when it's on the decrease where the last hole is. That's why I'm showing you the 4th row. And how we figure out it's the 4th row. Here was the stitch marker that I put in. Okay, so then 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to do one more row after this. Let me show you, you're still doing the single crochet. And this is going to be your last hole now. Okay, so you're decreasing, so you're going to go last hole. Going to do 1 chain stitch. Going to flip our work. Going to show you one more time going into the 3rd hole, and then we'll come back on the end. So here's, we flipped our work. 1, 2, 3. You're going into the 3rd hole. And you continue on. This is the 5th row, because remember we were just talking, we were ending the 4th row. So this is the 5th row. You're going to come back in just a minute and see how we end this 5th row. Now we're ending the 5th row, where it's decreasing, going into the 3rd hole. And the other rows, the other 4 rows, we went into this hole, the last hole, and then we went ahead and did 1 chain stitch and flipped our work. We're not going to go into that last hole. We're going to do it right here. Let's see. This is our last one. And we're going to do 1 chain stitch and flip our work. And then, see, we didn't go into the last hole right there. This was the second to the last hole, and now we're going to decrease again in a more severe way and go 3 again like we were doing, but not going into the last hole, because we want this to be more severe. So we go all the way over here, and we're going to do 7 rows like that, where we don't go into this last hole and go into the 3rd hole to start. And we do 7 rows like that. Okay, we'll be back when we get to the end of the 7th row. Okay, we're back. I wanted to do a little brief recap so you could visualize, because I've just been giving you instructions. I want you to see where we are and how we transition and what you're working towards next, so you have a better visual. So we did the 5 rows as we came off this point. This was the part, we had 10 rows here that was all the same length. Then we went 5 rows where we started to decrease, and going in the ending hole and going into the 3rd hole when we started to help decrease. And then we moved down to doing 7 rows that I'm going to show you how we end that 7th row, where it's a more severe decrease. So where we are is right here, and I'm going to show you on the other rug, but I wanted you to kind of get a general view of where we're headed. So we're going to come into this little point here, narrow spot for the tail to start, and then we're going to increase again. So I wanted you to see on a finished product so you could have a better visual in your mind. So we're going to go ahead and move on from there and show you how to end that 7th row and the final row of decreasing and moving into the tail. So this is moving along nicely. I'm still going to kind of recap a little bit by showing you where we are. And see how it's kind of looking. I want you to see mine because it doesn't look as pretty, and that's why we put a border on it. You can leave it this way without it, but adding the border really finishes it off. So we had these rows here. This was your 5 rows where it just went into the final hole, and then we skipped over into the 3rd one. Then we get to those 5 rows. We ended up stopping one hole short of the end of the row and then going into the 3rd hole. So let me show you. I'm going to try to show you. Here we go. We move right to left always, so let me get my material situated. How we finish this off. This is the 7th row. Okay. This time, we're instead of going, we went into, this is how far we were going. And we were leaving this last hole. And then we were going back. But now we're actually going to go on the 7th row. We're going to go into the final hole again. We're going to do 1 chain stitch up like every other row. We're going to flip our work, but now because we're increasing for the tail, like we did on the beginning part, here's going to be your hole, but you're going to do 2 in the final hole. So you're going to go on the first hole, you're going to go 2 single crochets in there. There's 1 single crochet, and there's your second one. Okay, you're going to go all the way across. You're going to do 9 increasing rows. Now, if you decided you want to go a little bit bigger or something, and you want to put another one on, or a little less, or you're running out of material, these things can be adjusted. This is a guide. This is how I did it, and that's just a little guide. Okay. This material is sitting here like this because I started one of my other demo rugs that I was doing for you with that in there, and it really goes with this one, and I'm kind of reusing the material. And okay, we're almost to the end. You're going to go into the final hole when we get to the end for these 9 rows, and you're going to then flip your work, and you're just going to do 1 into the final hole. This is your final hole here. Okay, do 1 chain stitch, flip your work, and again, here's your hole. 2 single crochets are going to go in there, and this will begin your increase for your tail. Okay, so you're just going to continue, do 9 rows of this where you're increasing. Go into the last hole, and when you flip your work, you're going to do 2 single crochets into that hole. We'll come back as we get to the end, and we'll show you how to finish it and how to put your border on. So we're almost done. I hope you've found this to be very helpful. So we'll be back in just a moment.